Live from Froggy's Pad, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Hello, we're here at Froggy's Pad, which is one of my favorite old school haunts.
Oh man, it's early, Nick.
I know.
Why'd you drag me up this early for?
Well, if you're gonna go see Thundercats, you gotta watch it about 6 o'clock in the morning.
That must be why I always missed Thundercats growing up.
It was something like that. Yeah. Anyways, Froggy's Pad is a very distinct place we're here this time. It was a kid show back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
We're in Fort Wayne.
Yes, it's a very localized place we're at this time.
Yeah, with a frog puppet, which may come into effect later in this show.
I had never even thought of that. Now, did Happy the Hobo ever appear on Froggy's Pad? Or was he was just on Happy's Place?
I think it was just Happy's Place, but Froggy showed up on Happy's Place.
Yeah. I just didn't know if they were a crossover the other way.
Not that I remember.
Did Froggy make... Because I only vaguely remember this.
I only actually vaguely remember it too,
Okay.
but...
I didn't know how often he made appeareances. I just remember it being lots of cartoons, and they just called it Froggy's Pad.
Yeah, I think he would show up like at the beginning and tail end of stuff.
Okay. Usually we pretend like we're actually at this location, but it's hard to say. There's just a lot of it's a swamp.
Yeah, it's a swamp. It's a swamp, and then there's like a cardboard box with the frog.
You're showing us all these GI Joes and
yeah, Thundercats are really about the only one I watched. Okay. Oddly enough, I don't know why that was. That must have been that. I was awake and I didn't have to go somewhere else at that point.
Right.
And I remember going to a live action Thundercats show at the embassy one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never went to. I did go to. There was a Bozo show that was in Fort Wayne. I did go to that. I remember.
Seems like Gumby was at that show too, but maybe my childhood memories might be going. But anyways,
could be.
If you haven't guessed, we will soon reveal our topic for the evening.
Yes, and I apologize. I seem to have developed some sort of throat infection. So
when you're around swamps,
my own fault, I guess.
Yes.
So that is why I might sound unusually bass-like today.
All right.
As opposed to bass, even though we are in a swamp. It's different thing.
Nice. All right. Well, shall we go to story school? Well, if our intro didn't kind of touch off with all our nostalgic childhood memories, then we're going to talk about kids' movies and kids' books, kids' media, I guess,
kids
stories.
Stuff. Yes. Yeah.
Today.
And it seemed an appropriate time to do it for a couple of things. Obviously, the big one being Muppets Most Wanted came out. Yay! That was me doing a Kermit flail and wagging my hands about.
Kermit the Frog here.
Which I was very pleased with Muppets Most Wanted. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah. Our podcast is good, but you need to go see that.
Yeah. Definitely. But kids' movies are a big thing right now. Not only because people have been singing Frozen for like the last 4 months online.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go, and then there was Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and it seems like everyone nowadays has an opinion on, the latest Disney, the latest Pixar, the latest DreamWorks or what have you, or, the Lego movie, which kind of came out of nowhere and really surprised everyone with its awesomeness.
Now, how would you, before we start, because you're right, kids' movies tend to go off really well for a variety of reasons. What would you make as the definition of kids' movie? We'll talk about movies here first.
Well, see, that's difficult because I guess part of it is that it's one that's marketed in some ways toward kids,
children,
toward children.
So not Hunger Games.
No, not Hunger Games.
There's kids in it.
Yes, that's still a young YA.
Yeah, I know.
YA movies are sort of becoming a thing. If you hadn't noticed over the last few years,
movies in general follow patterns of things.
Yes, especially books.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess that's the main thing. I mean, in terms of like the market's definition of what a kid's movie is, that's what it is.
Now, what do you think from from your own personal point of view, what would make a kid's movie different than, say, a not kids movie? That obviously kids movies appeal to adults, or
Yes.
nowadays they do,
And good ones should.
and good ones should.
Yeah.
And we'll talk that
and
more.
we'll get into more of that. A big part of it is if the plot has to be something that a child can follow. Even if they don't follow all of the jokes, or there'll probably be things that they'll miss, which is understandable.
The presentation of the world tends to be a little simpler.
Yes.
Like there's not so many shades of gray.
Mm-hmm. The protagonists and the antagonists are usually clearly defined. Sometimes the bad guys become
Good
guys at the end, but it's usually pretty clear, who the good person is, and you don't have like moral ambiguity.
Everything's I'm sure there's kids movies that try it, but generally,
it should be one that they can follow, and it's usually it should be free of objectionable material. It's not overly violent or have sexual innuendo and
DreamWorks.
Yeah, hello. There's definitely has been some cases of a coarsening of kids stuff, but even then, there's still some established. You're not going to see someone get horribly mutilated or something.
And in America, kids movies, I mean, if it's animated, it's largely considered in some realm of kids movies. More, I mean, not as much as it used to be, but you still have.
Yeah.
If it's animated, it's probably for kids.
Probably Western anime. If it's
Western
animated,
in America,
people are much more familiar with the concept of anime now, and animation that is meant for a more mature audience. But
I saw actually a preview at Muppets Most Rented for a Paddington Bear.
Yeah,
which I don't know. Actually, I don't know much about.
I don't know much about you. I've seen it twice. The Muppets Most Rented. And both times saw it because I went with different sisters. And both times the sister asked, "What is that?" Because apparently it was a kid's book that just wasn't in our
it wasn't in
rotation.
my I mean, I know of it.
So. Yeah, exactly. Same here.
Now all our listeners who love Paddington Bear is like, "What are you talking about?
What's wrong with you?"
First,
it was a very epic score for Paddington Bear too. It was funny.
So there's a simplicity, not necessarily of like it's just simple as in like simpleton, but in presentation of ideas. There's black and white. There's no.
And the world is very approachable for a child and for a child at heart. I mean, I think part of the reason why people are still drawn to their Saturday morning cartoons they grew up with is kind of that going back to a simpler time.
And there tends to usually be a lot less. There's either more whimsy or wonder or something about most kids' movies. I mean, it's not usually realistic. I mean, even if it's filmed, like realistic people, it tends to be a little more free of normal life cause and effect.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like The Sandlot.
Yeah, that's a baseball movie, right?
Yeah.
The Sandlot is one of these movies that seems like everybody in Indiana grew up with, but I never really did because my family never cared about baseball.
Well, it's kind of about baseball. I just remember really enjoying it back in the day. So
yeah,
back in the day. So like I'm really old.
Hey, you're older than me.
Well, okay. So that kind of establishes at least some of the guidelines of kids movie as opposed to.
And there are always exceptions to these things.
Yeah.
And honestly, nowadays it seems like for a lot of people, the movies that kind of are the exceptions are the most popular with people our age. It seems like.
Well, because people our age tend to get, they want the childishness, but they also want new and creative ways of doing things.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, so it's almost sometimes you have movies that are made in a kid, like the Lego movie kind of fits in this, kind of made in a kid style, but with an adult, like, it's different than going to something that's strictly for kids.
Yeah.
They're like, haha, we're actually doing this not for the kids, but for the kids who used to use Legos but are now 30-something.
There's a different mentality for it in a sense.
Yeah, there's more. And a lot of kids' movies do this a lot. We got a lot more of the, it works at two levels. Kids like it, but adults are like, that's funny because of things you don't know about.
Yeah, well, and let's talk a little bit more about what makes it good. And, there's that famous C.S. Lewis quote, or at least it gets quoted around a lot in writer circles.
Yeah.
That a good children's story that can only be enjoyed by kids isn't really a good children's story at all. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that's kind of the essence of it.
Well, because if you make it just, kids like bright colors and fast cars or whatever, and then it's not still a good story, or it's not a story that holds up, I guess.
As
Because there's a lot of, we'll probably talk about books later here. There's a lot of kids' books that you don't mind reading to your kids. You're like, oh, I love this.
oh sure,
And you still like it. It's still clever.
Mm-hmm.
Frog and Toad.
We won't get into that argument again. But yeah, or as the creators of Phineas and Ferb put it, which is a cartoon series that does this, has a wide range of audience, fans and stuff. As they would put it, it's a show for kids, but in making the show, they don't rule out the adults either. Or in another way, you put another spin on it, and it's like they make the show for grown-ups, but they don't rule out the kids.
Yeah.
Which you can totally tell that in Phineas and Ferb. Their sense of humor ranges all over the place. In the movie, they actually, at one point, the kids exchange existential trading cards. He's like, I'll give you 2 Kierkegaards for my Dostoevsky. And they're like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you're not talking down to kids if you're writing a good kids story.
Oh yeah.
That you might be talking at their level as far as language or presentation, but as far as you're not talking down to them in the sense of what they can understand in the sense of morals or life or whatever.
I mean, most people who interact with kids say that the best way to do it, and you're a parent, so you can probably back this up better than I could. But you talk with the children at their level. You don't talk down to them. You talk to them like you would, okay, not an adult, but with respect for their understanding of things.
Yeah.
And when they do you that way, they reciprocate that. Mr. Rogers used to do that a lot. He understood the mind of his kids' audience, I think.
Yes.
And,
Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street's been doing that sort of thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, let's flip this on. We were talking about a lot of good examples, but let's throw this back to some of the movies or TV shows or what have you that they sort of have a reputation for being very only kid level.
Okay, yeah.
Like, because I know your kids have watched like the Baby Einstein things.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, Baby Einstein is kind of mesmerizing. There is a certain sort of like artistic. I can sit and watch a Baby Einstein. It sounds really weird.
Well, and there's a different Granted, there's a different threshold for this sort of thing.
But like that makes sense to me. But then watching stuff like Yo Gabba Gabba. Like, I have no clue what the point of Yo Gabba Gabba is.
Or Fuba. Did you ever see Fuba?
I've never seen Fuba.
Have you heard? I think that's how it's said. It's sort of like, if Teletubbies is for, like, toddlers, this Fuba must be for, like, amoeba or something. It's weird.
No, it's there's a lot of good kids programming now,
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I guess, I don't know, maybe I just don't get Yo Gabba, but it's just like there's not connections between things and just random. It feels like it just is splintered and random in a way that doesn't follow. And it's just weird and like over exaggerated. It's like you can't tell whether they're trying to be serious or trying to be ironic. Like you're supposed to be laughing at it, but the kids don't know that, which to me is not a good way to do a kids thing. If that's, but I don't know. I don't get it. And lots of famous people go on this show.
Weird.
And like Jack Black was on it in one episode that I saw, and
I guess there might be a sense of personal taste for these things.
Possibly.
Because, like, there are shows like, say, Dora the Explorer or Blue's Clues, these educational shows.
Yeah.
So you get the kind of stereotypical, do you see where the bridge is?
I that whole asking I'm like, no, I'd never seen a kid answer. Maybe some do, but they're just like staring at the screen because they're watching TV. They're not talking to Dora. Most my kids aren't, at least. Maybe other kids are.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that.
It seems. It's one of those things that it sounds like everyone said this is how you get people engaged and learn. But I'm not sure. When you sit in front of the TV, do you want to interact with it? Now, I guess if you're sitting with your parent and they can be like, what do you think? Which I guess I've done before. But
yeah, and I guess that's always a fine line, too, because, Mr. Rogers would talk to the kids on the screen, but I don't know if he ever did it in quite the same kind of creepy pause, wait for you sort of way.
It's like, but what if you say something wrong? You're still, it doesn't matter.
Right. So, I'd have to go back and look at some of that
stuff. I don't think talking to kids is a bad deal, but that weird, pause, come on, answer. And usually, and sometimes it's like really, really simple stuff, and you can't tell what age. It's like, what age group are you going for? And I don't know. Maybe older kids watch things that they, I don't know.
My youngest sister grew up with some Blue's Clues, and so I watched, and it didn't make me want to, like tear my eyes out.
No.
And, you kind of understand. Okay, it's at preschool level. That's you kind of follow where they're trying to go with it. So I'm a little torn there about saying that it's completely not worthwhile.
Yeah, those things. I think they're worthwhile, but they're certainly at this sort of they're not rewatchable in the same way, like different levels of kid. It's just like at this level, it's exciting, and you have your animal and your
right.
But it's almost more education than story.
Yeah,
I mean the story is a vehicle for education.
That might be the difference a whole lot there, because Sesame Street managed to do education in a really entertaining way.
Yeah.
You can have Benedict Cumberbatch talking about how to count.
Exactly.
And adults will eat it up for some reason.
Well, going back to Baby Einstein, I mean, obviously there's lots of just, scenes of kids and whatever doing stuff. But there was like these puppet scenes, and they're really clever. I mean, they're the sort of thing that I find entertaining. They're well done, and the comedic timing's good and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why that one, Watch Education, seems less painful in some ways to watch. Mm-hmm. What other shows like Mickey Mouse Club? My kids like to watch.
Yeah,
had some of that, pausing, whatever sort of
thing. Which I was always kind of very sad that they wound up using.
Yeah,
I think part of it is they want to introduce kids to Mickey at a young age, but then at the same time, it's like, but they're
that show though. I'm like, okay, so they got this Mouse-Catool thing. For you haven't watched it, I don't know why you haven't. No, but there's hey Toodles, and this thing comes up, has 4 Mouse-Catools every time, and there's 3 of them, and then 1 mystery one, and every time there's always just the right tools for whatever's going on, and so there's some sort of omniscient thing going in this Toodles, or some sort of time travel, because it knows before the episode starts what it's going to need. So I think there needs to be some sort of science fiction explanation of this.
That's fabulous.
No, you know what, a good show that's educational but is very entertaining. Mm-hmm. Sid the Science Kid.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that? Jim Henson's involved in that.
I knew the Jim Henson Company did that. I don't
just
know
the characters
much
are characters are just a lot of fun. I mean, obviously it has the format, it has it teaches science, and science is a little easier to teach in a story greater story educating. But anyways,
fun fact, since you brought up Jim Henson
Company, okay.
Fun fact, that show is actually done using built-off technology that Jim Henson helped develop.
Oh, nice.
The whole CGI puppet. Those are all CGI puppets on that show.
Okay.
So
they're quite entertaining.
So yeah, it's interesting because it's all like it's animated live in a sense.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So it gives a different aspect to the performances.
So that's kind of your lower kid level. Stuff, and then you get a little older where you have your what we grew up with, Thundercats and the G.I. Joes and the.
Or your Disney movies.
Your Disney movies.
Which are a huge cultural thing, apparently. Because I think that's one of the cultural commentators or cultural geeks, kind of one of their favorite things to kind of analyze, the whole Disney princess phenomenon and all that kind of stuff. Sociologists love studying those guys.
Well, girls. I know Theo and Ren love... Probably the only 2 full-length movies they watch, generally, are Curious George, the movie, which actually entertaining, pretty good.
Okay.
But they love cars. Randy's always like, ka-chow. Lightning McQueen says ka-chow.
I do think the bright colors there is a big part of it.
It is. I mean, it's a long movie it's 2 hours, I think. The fast driving, the bright colors, I mean, for guys are great. And I don't know, Randy just loves Lightning McQueen for some reason. But there's a lot of interesting things going on, and it doesn't move fast. It's not like, there's some kids think they just move at ridiculous paces. I mean, you got the races, but then the whole middle is pretty slow.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, not slow as in like it's boring, but
it takes its time.
That's a movie where I've seen parts of numerous times.
Right.
It's always enjoyable. They've made it so that it's not like, oh, we got. Well, speaking of kids movies, when my little sister was young, she would watch. I don't know if anyone has seen this, Little Giants. It's one of those Disney movies about like misfit football team.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She must have watched it like every day for months.
Oh dear.
Like during lunch, and when mom and dad went in to go eat lunch,
That's one of the curses of the older siblings, having to, when you've sort of outdone something and you have a little kid that just can't get enough of it.
I mean, granted, it was entertaining, but like all the time. Little Giants.
Now, I do think though there is sort of a, even with the older kids stuff,
Yeah.
I think there's a room for different personal taste and stuff. I remember one time this coworker at the library. This is back when I was shelving genealogy books. We were talking about books one time, and she said that she couldn't get through. She read like The Lion, the Witch, of the Wardrobe, but she couldn't get into any of the rest of Narnia because she felt they were too kiddish. And I couldn't wrap my mind around that, to be honest. I mean, because this was a girl who loved the Harry Potter books.
Okay.
And so I was like, I don't know if it's just a fantasy sort of thing, or if it's a cultural sort of thing of like there are certain cultural truths that you assume are more kiddish than more modern, quote unquote modern ideas. But there's definitely an aspect, some people never outgrow cartoons.
Yeah.
Some people, they once they've hit 13, they're never interested in watching a Disney movie again.
Yeah. Just because a kid's movie is made in such a way that adults can enjoy it doesn't mean that all adults are going to enjoy it.
Right.
And because even a lot of our old, I remember we didn't watch Thundercats forever. And Zach watched one on TV, and he's like, "I can't believe we used to watch this." Because they were like looking for a cubic foot of sponge fog, or like some of the plot lines when you come with adult eyes, you're like,
"Yeah."
I mean, the thing is, the concept's neat, and then I don't know. Do you think? And I haven't watched many modern cartoons. I think they probably don't do this much. Do we dumbify plots when they're for cartoons?
I think it depends on the show.
Okay.
Because I've got Tailspin on DVD, and I've watched some of that, and it's really interesting because the plots in there are very adventure kind of heavy, but they're having fun with it in the same sort of sense of like the old Carl Barks Uncle Scrooge or DuckTales, the comics, even before it was a TV show. Because I don't think those they're obviously very kid friendly, and I wouldn't say there's a lot of adult humor, but they clearly have a lot of fun with the influences. Like there's one where Baloo and Louie, it's basically Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. There's full of allusions to that, and it's in the style of one of their The Road to Whatever movies. So you can tell shows like that, they definitely have a lot of fun. Now on the flip side, I did go back talking again about revisiting old kids things, which we have talked about on here before. But some of the first few episodes of G.I. Joe are really ridiculous. I mean, there's this one episode where that involved Cobra taking over this fast food chain and then using it to as a cover for launching missiles and stuff like this. In retrospect, it's ridiculous and it's stupid. I mean, it's fun in that sense that you can just laugh at it, but at the same time, you're like, man, as a kid, if my parents, I was sort of glad that I didn't watch it regularly because I felt like my brains would have turned to mush. That old parent thing.
Though, now we're talking about old school kids movie that I obviously mentioned here before. Around the World, Puss in Boots travels around the world in 80 days.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, this is one of those when I rewatch, and obviously it doesn't affect me the same way as when I was a kid. But but there's a lot of obviously you have the the bad guys is kind of just like nefarious, and can't get anything done because that's what bad guys do when you're but you want to get bad guys to be. You don't want them to really be mean for a kid. I think that's why it happens sometimes. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I mean...
Again, it depends on the movie.
Exactly. But I think there's a whole trope of, let's make a bad guy that seemed evil is basically incompetent.
Yeah.
But when I went back to watch it, the action is still a lot of fun. I can see why I started liking anime after watching this thing. Obviously not immediately after, but I mean, it still holds up. It's just kind of fun. I mean, it's not great art, but I can see okay, this is the adventure and the sort of I'm good, you're bad, we have a time limit thing is enough. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of a quote, and I'm not going to quote it right, but G.K. Chesterton was talking about Treasure Island, I think in particular, but other books of like that, that. Books, is what we want. It's like someone's good, someone's bad. The bad can be redeemed. There's gold. It's deep archetypal sort of stuff that you don't mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's buried underneath all this ridiculousness. But sometimes, if there's enough there, that's why we love it. Both as kids because that's at the level we're working, and as an adult because all this extra stuff we put on top of what life is not necessarily the base of what we care about.
Well said. I like that. Because like we said, these kids things, we enjoy them because they feel simpler and stuff. But it strips out a lot of the you know, a lot of the baggage we carry as grown-ups, and really kind of, like you said, boils it down to the essentials of what makes life wonderful.
Yeah, because we, you know, as adults, we have all these ambiguities and all these responsibilities and all these, you know, there's 5 versions of what this, of this political, and then, well, that's not really the heart of life.
Yeah.
You know, the heart of life is good, bad, you know, adventure, that sort of stuff, which is what, you know.
And even the kids' stories that do include some of that stuff, I'm thinking of like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
Where, you know, there are a lot of, you know, different points of view and perspectives, and there's a lot of deep thought there that you can put that's behind it if you look for it. But at the same time, you know, at its heart, it's you know, very optimistic, hopeful kind of adventure story.
You don't see many kids movies that aren't hopeful in some sense.
Yeah, at least good ones.
Good ones, yeah. I mean, or ones that aren't made, this is a kids movie made for the pessimistic adult. and like in kids books, you got Narnia stuff. You know, I've never read Wind in the Willows, but Theo and I are going to read it now. Even younger stuff, you got like your Curious George and your Clifford and your Frog and Toad and your Dr. Seuss, all these kind of, you know, adventuresome, wondrous, you know, got monkeys running around and giant dogs and, you know, frogs that, you know, talk to each other. I mean, what reason we put talking animals in kids movies is because that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's so, you know, as a English professor, we're like just analyzing, oh, when the pigs take over the farm, they are, you know.
Right. But no, yeah, it is fun because it's like they're a different kind of creature, and yet it's not like the adults like big, scary, scaly things and monsters. The kids ones are usually furry and they look cute or fun, and you know that's half the appeal of the Muppets in a sense. As much as the Muppets are known for being, you know, eating each other and blowing each other up, and you know sometimes they bite at each other occasionally, but at the same time, a lot of them are awfully cute.
Yeah. I guess two thoughts I have. One thing I really dislike what happens to quote unquote kids movies sometimes is when the sort of simplicity and the goodness gets eroded away by cynicism or irony or crass jokes that don't need to be there.
Like we hinted at earlier, DreamWorks
has a tendency to do that.
They've kind of become, I mean, they've been a little better, but I'm not interested in most DreamWorks for that very reason. That's the kind of movie that's trying to be too hip, trying to be too modern, and sometimes, you know, like by trying to do the opposite of kids convention, then you just wind up becoming, you know, not very kid friendly at all.
Well, and it seems like kids movies a horrible time. Having kids now, especially, you get really mad when they subvert traditional norms. I mean, in the sense that, what was I? Well, I read this kids. We're reading, there's this program at the library, 1,000 books before kindergarten, and basically you get a bag of books with 10 books, and it has a theme like rain or bears or rabbits. Okay, yeah. So we've read like 200 books so far. Obviously these are short kids books. But one the other day was like, listen to your mother. And you're talking about so-and-so listens to his mother, and he always listens, and it basically implied it was very boring, and I'm like, what are you trying to say? That is bad to listen? It was weird. I couldn't get the sense of it. I'm like, I guess you're trying to be clever and stuff, because then there's like this like Addams Family next door, and that person listens to his mother, but that mother's all about like, let's make a mess and be crazy, you know. I don't know. It didn't make any sense because there was like not an ending either. It just kind of stopped. It was not a well done.
Yeah, you know this you know better than I do, but parents need to be careful what's media their kids are investing. Just because it's marketed toward children doesn't mean that it's appropriate for children.
No, not at all. I mean, it might have the bright colors of children's stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like Summer always likes to, and I see her point. We'd like to pick apart Thomas the Train, because here's the thing: he doesn't want to be good. He doesn't want to be. He wants to be useful. I mean, basically, it's kind of like communism. All these trains. You're only good if you're useful. Which is kind of a subtle but weird. I mean, again, we don't worry about, you know, that's not coming to Theo's head, but we're watching as adults thinking this is just kind of odd. I mean, it's just different.
I don't know if I ever would have thought of it that way. I mean, it's been
Summer said the communist thing, but there is this big thing about being and Thomas is like, he's always the number one train, and he has this little kind of like pride thing, like he always somehow gets up on top and is better than everyone. It just kind of like, I don't know, it's weird.
We've been talking about a lot of negative trends that we don't like, but we haven't actually mentioned a lot by name.
Oh, that's true.
Probably because we can recognize the signs from the outset, so we don't.
We
actually
don't
watch that
invest
stuff.
those as much. Yeah.
So sorry, we don't have examples off the top
I'm
of my
sure
head
you
right
can find
now.
your own examples.
Yeah, you can fill in the blank. You know what we're talking about.
I do want to make one last kind of PS, which is sometimes adults write. People will say that someone said that Alice in Wonderland is a book that people think is kids' book. It's really only kids' book from an adult's point of view. No kid thinks that's funny. It's just kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But as an adult, you're like, oh, that's such like being a kid, you know. So sometimes,
Mm.
adults say, this is, like the Labyrinth. Not kids.
No, not
But
really.
but the idea and the cleverness, and they're like, oh, it's whimsical, like a kids movie. But there is that whole genre of sort of like adult versions of kid stuff, which is not bad. I love Alice in Wonderland, but it's a whole different genre.
I think the movie Where the Wild Things Are is kind of like that too. I can't imagine. I mean, I could be wrong. It depends on the kid, I guess. But I can't imagine most kids really being that into it. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. No.
Okay, but I can certainly see it from a young adult's viewpoint.
Or that I remember watching. What is it? The 88 Keys of Dr. It's that Dr. Seuss movie. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it's just weird.
A cartoon.
No, live action.
88 Keys.
88 Keys. I think it's something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I saw it a long time ago, but it was kind of freaky. I mean, there's some things that people are like, oh, we'll put this in a movie and kids will love it. And you're like, no, that will freak a kid out. But an adult will think, ooh, that's kind of cool and clever and embodying childhood creativity. The problem is childhood creativity has certain boundaries.
Yes, of what works and what doesn't.
And then as adults, sometimes we have to almost go beyond those boundaries to feel like we're a kid again, because just making animals talk is
Passé. Yeah, no, if you do a YouTube search, you can probably find some examples of search for freaky childhood movie or something like that. There's some really weird stuff out there.
Well, Brian would say that no kid should watch the scene in Neverending Story where the horse dies.
Yeah.
But that's not because it's not a good kids movie, but
Brave Little Toaster, I know, kind of freaks some people out. Which, I kind of recall
Elvins
that.
on Parade.
Dumbo. Oh no, yeah, my sisters will not rewatch Dumbo or Pinocchio. They can't stand.
There's
them.
another thing, and I think that with
And actually, I'm that way with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
No, I was going to say Roald Dahl, and early Disney. Both have this thing where they're so good at doing emotions, like being creative, that they can do creative in very funny whatever ways, and also in this kind of disturbing, sad sort of way. And it's just massively creative, but it gets under your skin.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes massively creepy.
Well, yeah.
Or just, if you're a child, you just don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, and I think Roald Dahl is very good. He's massively creative, but that gives you also the capacity to be, Speaking of kids, I need to stop, but did you ever read Lemony Snicket?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kids book or not?
I say, honestly, more preteen teen. It's usually in the children's section, but I don't know very many, I'd say, it's 10 and up.
Yeah.
No younger than that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've listened to some of them, or listened to some on tape. Natasha read all of them, but I have kind of a spotty understanding
and the
of it.
vocabulary, I don't think even
it's
younger kids
clever. It's one of those that turns things on its head and does it in a actually relatively clever and useful way, even if it is kind of sad and tragic.
Yes. No, that's true. No, that's sort of a coming of age sort of series, I think, especially toward the end.
That's true. Coming of age series we should talk about that sometimes. They tend to be a little more melancholy.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
That's true. But yeah, we're
going long. I didn't actually expect to talk that long.
Well, we kept it was a very broad subject.
That's true.
And we've never really grown up, so that's...
There we go. All right, so let's go ahead to soundtrack.
Okay, when it comes to games, I don't know that there's any company that perfectly embodies childlike spirit with gameplay that any adult can enjoy, like Nintendo does.
That's true.
That's true for Mario, Kirby, even Zelda to a degree.
Yeah.
But in this case, we're going with something from Kirby. This is we're gonna do a song from Maze Dude.
Woohoo!
It's unusual. I'm the one who chooses Maze Dude. It's usually Nick. But this is from Kirby's Dream Land, which I think actually might be the first game I ever completely beat on Game Boy. I'm hoping I haven't done this one before. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But this is called Bubbly Cloud Cafe, and it's very bubbly. So hope you enjoy.
Hello, everyone. We're back. Thank you for listening to that wonderful, bubbly Maze Dude song.
Yes.
Maze Dude is awesome.
Nick says if he's not being really creepy, he's being really fun and silly.
That is completely true. Okay, for next, we're going to go directly to our next section since we're running a little long. What if? So today we're talking about, remind me, because I kind of remember.
Well, okay. So, our most infamous for some, because I know we have a couple new listeners.
Yes.
So, hi guys.
Hello.
But in case you're not familiar with What If, we usually talk about, we come up with some weird scenario and say, what if this happened?
What is it? Our first one was Tolkien writing Star Wars.
Yeah. Our most infamous, though, is probably when we turned the children's book Wizard of Oz into this horrible Michael Bay monstrosity.
Yes, yes, that was fabulous.
Featuring a stripper, Dorothy Kansas, and her mercenary Tin Man, and
oh, it was something else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it was something. So we thought this time we'd do a reverse of that, not with Wizard of Oz, but let's take some adults movie, which we haven't actually talked about which one yet. Some grown-up movie, and what would it be like?
A TV series, like a cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
right?
Saturday morning cartoon.
Well, we talked about taking Citizen Kane, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, I guess we did.
No. 2001: Space Odyssey is what I wanted to take.
Oh, see, that'd be a great choice, but I haven't actually seen all.
Oh, okay.
That.
Well, I'll just do my thumbnail sketch, and then we'll go to something else.
Okay.
Which is, I think, it's the interstellar adventures of Dave and Hal.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And Hal's obviously always like trying to get Dave out of the spaceship.
Oh, Hal. You rascally Hal, you.
Yeah, and we have songs, and yeah, I think it'd be great. And then they go, they're always searching for, monoliths, and they'll be like, then Dave would be like, how many monoliths do you see? 4, that's correct. And then maybe like in between the sections, you only have to have like 3-minute sections before you have some sort of interlude. Interlude will have the Star Child and like crazy dream sequences, just like crazy animation and like cool music from like unknown bands on Disney Channel. 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think it'd be fabulous
for preschoolers.
For preschoolers, they'll teach them like science and mysticism. No, mate. Oh, no. And then there'll have to be also this little like recurring section with a bunch of apes.
Yeah.
That like they're trying to learn how to say some letter or something. They like start beating each other like B, and they start smacking each other on top of the head and stuff.
And maybe like the transition to go back to space each time is the throwing of the bone and that thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. You have like 3 or 4 different like mini plot, mini scenes that happen all the time, so it's kind of an educational thing.
Yeah, like so each time they're teaching about some different letter of the alphabet,
and some on another planet,
and some other explore the solar system.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah,
I'm sure PBS would be into this.
They might.
Yeah,
we'll get Neil deGrasse to do it. Isn't that his name? Neil Tyson deGrasse. Is that his name? Tyson.
I have no idea.
From Cosmos, the new.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, okay.
All right, let's get to Citizen Kane.
Okay, Citizen Kane.
So are we making Citizen Kane a Saturday morning cartoon then?
Sure, but I think he needs to be a kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he walks everywhere around with his sled.
He goes everywhere with his sled. But has he acquired his fortune then already?
I think he has a lemonade empire.
Okay. No, okay. So this is like Citizen Kane, like Junior, like this is
the
prequel like series. Okay.
Junior, like Citizen Kane Junior.
Okay.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Or it might have to be Citizen Kane the Third. I don't know, to make it sound cooler.
Yeah, possibly.
Anyways,
is it actually Citizen Kane's son, or is it like when he was a kid?
It's very vague.
Okay, it's not quite sure. It could be either way. Okay, and so he's got his own lemonade empire, and I'm guessing he has to deal with like neighborhood bullies a lot.
Oh yeah, and I think and the animation styles usually you're from weird angles when you're doing different shots of him. Like sometimes he's just on the floor and he just walks by.
And for some reason, I think the school newspaper is constantly trying to interview him, but can't seem to like figure out why he keeps talking about this rosebud thing.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
And
he's kind of like Richie Rich, so he has this giant mansion.
Okay, yeah. So he's got and maybe he's got like this girlfriend that he constantly dotes on and takes her on like wild adventures across the country.
I think it'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
So. Can she be redheaded?
Sure, why not?
For Charlotte Brown, I think it'd be good.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so that's Citizen Kane, the Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah, it can't be Citizen Kane. Like, how would you change it? And Citizen Kane Jr. just doesn't work. You need instead of Citizen, like Toddler Kane. No,
Student Kane.
Student Kane.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
It's not quite the same.
It's not quite. Now we'll have to think. We'll have to go back and do our focus group.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one for you, Nick. One that we have quite a bit of experience on. Lost
as
a CGI children's film.
Children's film. Oh, I was going to do like Lost Babies, like Muppet Babies. Come on, that'd be awesome. They're all.
There's enough characters you could probably do it.
Exactly. Okay. CGI kids movie. Okay, so you're talking like kind of style, like a 3D, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Clearly.
I'm thinking first change. you have to have the black smoke monster has to have the maniacal laugh, like wow.
That makes sense. I'm actually kind of thinking too that the entire cast they're all animals.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Locke is probably like this. I don't know. I'm thinking wise panda bear. That kind of then like he tries to dispense wise advice, but then he keeps getting run over by someone and keeps breaking his legs during the process.
Numerous times. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Kate would have to be a road runner.
Yeah.
Beep beep.
Kind of constantly running
back and forth. Yeah.
If not a road runner, then a Chihuahua. Yeah.
Okay, I can go with that. Let's see. Yeah, what would
I think Jack would have to be like a Papa Bear.
So we have two bears.
Yeah. So there you go. You have a clash between like the brown bear and the panda bear.
Oh, okay.
It's a different, so it becomes not just an ideological clash, which is kind of abstract for kids.
But
it's like a battle between clans.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
Okay, I like that. And so the hatch is not really a hatch. It's like the honey pit or something.
Okay.
What are you saying?
Yeah,
okay.
That makes sense. And the island is actually like hiding this like secret treasure. There's no like lame cave with like this golden light. There's
it's lame cave with gold.
Yes,
that makes light.
Gold. Yeah, exactly. And so that means like Ben is leader of like this. What would he be like a?
No. I think the others need to be actual people, so the animals are afraid of them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So,
but maybe they're actually people. They're animals disguised as people.
Ooh.
So like halfway through, they take off their masks. They're actually just
big plot twist.
Yeah, exactly. Dun. And okay, Richard Alpert has to be a tortoise because he's alive forever.
That makes sense.
Okay.
We may have gone the wrong way though, casting Jack and Locke as bears, because I'm pretty sure Hurley has to be a big teddy bear of some sort.
So they need to be something a little more ferocious. Wolves maybe. Wolves maybe. I don't know. I can't. Wolves not. That's always the bad guy.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, you've pulled off lions sometimes as good guys, but that's been done several times.
That's been done. Yeah. Seems like they would be something very territorial, though. So maybe they're dogs.
We can make them dogs.
Because dogs have a wide variety of what they can be, and then that makes Kate as
Chihuahua. So it's all dogs?
No, just like those three basically.
Okay.
Although I'm not sure about. Oh man, then you have to deal with your love triangle. So honestly. Because then it'd get kind of weird, if Juliet and Sawyer weren't also dogs,
Oh, it doesn't. They don't care. Kind of frog and a pig.
Okay, no, that's true.
Or what is it in what is Madagascar, like 2 or 3, where it's like the hippo and the giraffe?
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I guess
it doesn't matter in a kid's movie.
No, it really doesn't. Okay. So what is Sawyer then?
What is Sawyer?
He's
got to be something like he's got to be a fox.
He's a fox.
Come on,
totally. Yeah, obviously. I think Juliet would
something very sad.
I kind of picture her as a swan for some reason.
Yeah.
There's kind of a swan-like quality.
Yeah,
she's very mysterious. She doesn't talk a lot. And...
So I'll go with that.
Yeah. And maybe see that fits into maybe she is actually, so if the others are all animals that are disguised as humans, she's a human that's been turned into a swan.
Oh, there we go.
So, she doesn't want to be on this island, but
there we go.
Somehow she got roped into it.
And Desmond is
Jesus.
Doesn't matter. Desmond's just like he's just like he keeps changing.
I think Charlie's got to be a rabbit.
Yeah.
A little twitchy kind of guy. He gets run over halfway through the series, and it's this very dramatic moment. It's kind of like Bambi, and everyone's like, "How could you kill this character? Think of the kids."
So, but the stations can actually be what they say sometimes, maybe, or shaped like them. Like the Swan Station can be shaped like a swan, like this building. The orchid can be this big orchid. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't mess with time that much, except in kind of a goofy sort of like, way.
Maybe, well, I suppose you could have like some time travel. Maybe that's what Desmond Jesus does. He does a lot of, he pops back.
He just pops back in. Yeah, I like that.
And he'll have like he'll give like these warnings.
He's gonna be a little bit like Vitruvius from Lego Movie.
Okay,
it's kind of like
weird mystic thing that he just kind of pops up and gives them a warning and then disappears just as quickly.
I think that'd be great. So what's the main conflict here?
Well, it's definitely a treasure hunt.
Treasure hunt, and then Jack wants it, and so obviously at the end, Jack and Locke both they hug and they like each other, and they work together, and they both punch the smoke at the same time.
Yeah. I think initially Jack, maybe they came to the island together. Well, this is a little twist. Maybe they came to the island together to get the treasure, but Jack wants it for the money, and Locke wants it for like historical purposes.
Oh yeah,
and things like there's a great mysticism behind it, and in the end, they kind of it's kind of this blending between the new and the old.
So what they do,
modern
they take the money and they build a history site on the island.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that they can preserve the island and enjoy all their gold.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So
that's the resolution, and so it's all
and no
about,
flashbacks.
No flashbacks. Kids wouldn't get that.
No.
The show is basically all about this group of people
It's
coming
treasure
together.
hunting.
It's teamwork.
It's teamwork, yeah. And then we got 2 teams.
Yeah.
Well, 3 teams with the others.
What happens to others in the end? Do they wind up getting together with them, or are the others bad guys the whole time?
They get together with them.
Okay, it's all one happy family.
And actually, maybe not just guys as humans. Maybe the others are all animals that were cursed to be humans.
Oh, that could
so
be.
the treasure has a curse maybe that they break by being when you get humans and animals working together. Then it breaks it.
I can see that. I have to ask, and we'll move on for all you people who aren't Lost, because obviously we know Lost very, very well. But what is Ben? What kind of animal would he be?
Oh, what Ben? A slug.
A snake.
A snake. I mean, I thought a snake originally. I just didn't think that was. You almost need to be like he's a worm pretending to be a snake.
Oh. I can see that.
So he's a worm pretending to be a snake disguised as a human. Which is about right for Ben.
No, that makes sense.
And Kimi would just be like this rhino.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I just throw Kimi in there. So.
Wow, now you're going really obscure.
Well, yeah, that's all Divergent. There's a character in there that should have been Kimi, and so. Okay. Do we have time for one more?
One more story?
Yeah, one more.
You have an idea for one?
No, not yet. Oh. Let's take something very. Okay, maybe not. We better move on before I just waste our time. I did.
Well, we did want to do one real quick shout out since this is my podcast. Well, our podcast.
Yes.
To talk about Muppets Most Wanted. Real briefly, because everyone should see it. I was very, very, very happy with it. And in some ways, we were just talking about. In some ways, it's a more Muppety movie. I mean, we love the last one. Don't get me wrong.
But it just feels all around more Muppety.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have the burden of trying to be reintroducing the Muppets.
Yes. And it doesn't rely as much on on having human characters. I mean, the human actors who
are great.
They are fantastic. But I know there are some Muppet fans, which I kind of felt this way, but not to the extent some that kind of the Gary Siegel, Amy Adams thing sort of took up screen time that could have been used for Muppets. Which I get. I did think it worked for the movie that they were doing, too.
Yeah.
But it was nice that this one had just so many of them.
It had a lot of Muppets, a lot of just the ridiculous Muppet logic that happens,
throughout it.
I mean, like, some of the logic reminds me back of Muppet Capers, like, yes, we're twin brothers.
Now, I think that there is a lot of suspension of disbelief you have to go with that. You really do have to go with the silliness for a lot of it. I mean, as much as that was in Great Muppet Caper, it wasn't quite as an important plot point.
as yes, the plot point in this one is just ridiculous. Plot's Pointberg.
Yeah. Which is an actual place in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie. I'm like, really?
No, not really.
No, but if you like the Muppets, if you like their ridiculousness, their kind of halftime meta, halftime goofy.
I mean, we got to see sort of imagination of what Kermit and Piggy's kids would look like,
which was awesome.
Was hilarious. And it's fun, especially if you're a hardcore Muppet fan like me, just to look in the background and see some of the obscure characters who are in there. I mean, when I saw there are a lot of Muppet Treasure Island bad guys in the Gulag, which was fantastic.
Awesome. Nice.
And I love Rizzo's little moment.
Yeah, that was great. Rizzo and Robin.
So anyway,
go see it. We might do a more detailed review later.
Yeah,
maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see. It's enough to know that it gets my stamp of approval.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Definitely.
Go watch it.
So okay, hopefully this is a lopsided podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, Tim, wrap us. Give us where can they get a hold of this thing.
You can listen to our podcast at derailedtrainsofthought.blogspot.com.
Always subscribe to us on iTunes. We'll get there.
You can also, if you want to listen to the raw, uncut version, you can listen to that at mixler.com/derailedtrainsofthought.
Which is not as exciting this time as last time,
Yeah.
where it was quite humorous. And then you can always email us at derailedtrains@gmail.com. Thank you.
derailedtrains@gmail.com.
gmail.com. And I guess that's it. Oh, real quick, I will throw out a thing. Tim and I have a list of things we think we'll like to talk about, but always feel free to give us suggestions. I mean,
yes.
we're 43 episodes in here, and we're still ticking. So,
Yep. We can always use ideas of if there's something that you would like to hear us talk about.
or not talk about. Say, please do not talk about
Lost ever again.
Well, okay.
That'd be really, really hard, but
Hey, Tim brought it up this time. Okay.
that is true. That is true. I couldn't resist.
I know, it's good stuff.
That's very fertile ground.
Well, and it needs to be a musical too. just so you know, we need a couple songs.
That's true.
It'd be good stuff. Okay.
I'm sure Charlie would have a soliloquy about his fate. Well, I don't know. Would he
No.
know that he's gonna die beforehand?
No, I don't think so. I think that's too heavy.
Yeah, probably.
I think it would just happen. Maybe he might just be one of those people who are he's constantly clumsy and getting hit by stuff, and then finally just gets hit by the car, and everyone's like, and then so it's not sad, just like, well, we knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a little dark.
No, it's like a what is his name? Scrat from Ice Age?
Ice Age.
Yeah, like that. You play him like that.
Okay, so maybe you see him like with Fairy Wing or like
Yeah.
Halo and
Later on. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, introduce your
Okay,
your
soundtrack. Okay, this is called The Child Within. It's remixed from Chrono Trigger, Shala's theme, which is one of my favorite themes of video game music. Basically, I picked it because it had the word child in it, and because I love it.
Did you say who wrote it?
Not yet, I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways, it was remixed by Diggy Dis, and this is not on Overclock Remix, but if you want to go find it and download it, it's at diggydis.com. And basically, I was writing for like a half an hour of stuff before podcast, listening to this on repeat, so it's good stuff.
Awesome.
Very chill.
Very chill.
Yes.
I look forward to listening to it then.
Right, well, I guess I'm going to just hang around here at Froggy's Pad for a while.
Yeah, let's see what else they have.
I
I think they got some Popeye coming
Oh,
up,
I'll take
but-
some Popeye.
Yeah, that's old school stuff.
All right, well, I guess that's it then. So this has been Nick.
And this has been Tim.
Adios.
Bye-bye.